The Games of the 35th Olympiad, better known to you and me as the Brisbane 2032 Summer Olympics, is set to get a new stadium in Victoria Park, a few kilometres north of the CBD. You'd think building an Olympic stadium would be relatively straightforward. Get the relevant government approvals and then build the thing. Well, if only life were that easy. Back in March, following a 100-day independent review into venues, infrastructure and transport, Queensland Premier David Crisafulli unveiled the plans for the new stadium. The ABC reported, new 63,000-seat stadium to be built in Brisbane for 2032 Olympics. The Premier admitted that he broke an election promise not to build any new stadiums, but after the review declared Victoria Park was a clear choice. The review stated that it would come in at an estimated $3.8 billion. The first issue is that Victoria Park is a heritage-listed park. Ordinarily, the government would have faced an extremely complicated, lengthy and uncertain approval process in order to build a stadium there. However, in May this year, the Crisafulli government introduced a bill that would override many of the existing planning laws, including the Environmental Protection Act and the Queensland Heritage Act. This was done with the stated aim of reducing bureaucracy, preventing delays, and ensuring that projects are delivered on time and on budget. As reported by the ABC, the legislation was promptly passed in June. However, naturally, not everyone was happy with this outcome. From an environmental and aesthetic perspective, some groups do not want a giant stadium taking up space in their precious parkland. Save Victoria Park is one such community advocacy group. They have a GoFundMe simply titled Save Victoria Park from Destruction, which so far has raised more than $100,000. They indicate that the Queensland Premier announced plans to build two massive stadiums over heritage-listed Victoria Park, the main stadium and the National Aquatics Centre. They state that the construction of these two stadiums would create an enormous amount of damage to the topography of Victoria Park Brisbane, the Aboriginal word for the park, which has barely changed in thousands of years. They dramatically note that if this destruction proceeds, a significant portion of this pristine, heritage-listed parkland will be destroyed and replaced by concrete, traffic and large-scale development. But the most recent objection by a different group made world news, if you believe it. The British BBC reported, Aboriginal group launches legal bid to stop Brisbane Olympic Stadium. They wrote, the Agara Magunjin Aboriginal Corporation and Save Victoria Park Group are requesting the Federal Environment Minister to determine the park as a culturally significant site which could protect the land from development. YMAC spokeswoman and local elder Gaja Kerry Charlton stated, Brisbane is living country. We know this place is of great significance and history. It was a complete shock when the Premier came out with his stadium plans. We are very concerned there are ancient trees, artefacts and very important ecosystems existing there. There may be ancestral remains. Yes, the Queensland government will be potentially building on top of an ancient burial ground. Of course, all the media jumped on this. ABC, First Nations group launches bid to halt Olympic Stadium plan. The Guardian, First Nations group launches federal appeal to block construction. And the Brisbane Times, Aboriginal Corporation lodges legal fight over Victoria Park. The Queensland Government's decision to bypass existing planning and heritage laws was meant to clear the way for construction. But it turns out just because you change the rules doesn't mean everyone's going to play along. Now they're facing a federal legal battle from Aboriginal and environmental activists who aren't going to give up on the living country of Brisbane so easily.